Salutations, this is Brian Jarris from Ville Wealth Management. In today's video, we're going to discuss what happens if you have leftover funds in your 529 plan accounts, and what are a few planning hacks that we can take advantage of. Now, I've run financial planning for two top private banks for the past 20 years. I'm looking to share what I've learned with you to help you avoid costly mistakes. Ville Wealth Management videos are meant to be educational only. So if you need customized advice tailored for your situation, please reach out to me at villewealth.com. So what if you have leftover money in your 529 plan? What are your options? Well, first of all, you can always pull money out of your 529 plan, tax-free and penalty-free, if it's for a qualified educational expense, such as tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, even to pay for a computer. Now, if you pull the money out for non-qualified use, there's a 10% penalty and you'll pay income taxes, but just on the overall earnings of the account. So let's go over 5 options where we can avoid that penalty and avoid income taxes. And let's go over an example where we have a family with 2 children. Let's assume the oldest child has just finished their college education. So in this example, option 1 will be, well, let's change the beneficiary from the older child to the younger child. The main rule here is you can change beneficiaries as long as it's to another family member. And there's a pretty liberal definition of what a family member is. Well, what if the younger child already had a 529 plan? You could do option 2, which is transfer the money from the older child's 529 to the younger child. A third option is, what if there's student loan debt? You can now pay student loan debt up to $10,000 per beneficiary and for their siblings. So in this case, if either child had student loan debt, you could utilize the funds up to $10,000 to pay that debt down. Well, what if it was your debt as the parent or your spouse's? Kind of a workaround there is you could change the beneficiary of the 529 to yourself or your spouse and then start paying down some of that student loan debt. A fourth option is, what if either child decided they wanted to go to graduate school? You are able to use it penalty-free and tax-free for graduate school. And most recently, you can now utilize it for trade school and certifications. For example, like a CFP or a CPA. The fifth and final option is you can utilize the funds to roll over to a Roth IRA. Now, there's a lot of rules and guidelines there that we're going to go over in a minute. The final 2 points I want to talk about here is what if there's a scholarship? For a scholarship, you can pull the money out of the 529 plan up to the scholarship amount and no further, penalty-free. However, you will pay income taxes, so something to be aware of. But what if none of those other options apply? You really want to get the money out of there. Kind of that last option is that you could pull the money out, pay the penalty, and pay the taxes. This can make some sense if the beneficiary, your child, is in a low tax bracket and they're the ones pulling that money out. So that could be an example where it could make some sense. Let's go over the mechanics on how to roll over leftover funds from a 529 plan to a Roth IRA. There are 7 main requirements that I want to cover. The 529 account had to have been in existence for the current beneficiary for at least 15 years. Second, you can't roll over any contributions within the past 5 years or earnings on those contributions. Third, the Roth IRA has to be opened for the beneficiary of the 529 plan, not the owner. Fourth, there is a lifetime maximum rollover of $35,000 per beneficiary. Fifth, the Roth IRA annual contribution limits do apply, so you can't just roll over all $35,000 in year 1. The current limit is $7,000, so at that limit, it would take you 5 years of $7,000 annual contributions to fund that maximum limit of the $35,000. The sixth is that the individual, the beneficiary, has to have earned income in order to contribute to a Roth IRA. So if you're doing this for your child would have to have at least $7,000 in earned income in that year for you to make that contribution to the Roth IRA. And then lastly, the transfer of money from the 529 plan to the Roth IRA has to be a trustee to trustee transfer. You can't have them write a check to you and then you deposit in the Roth IRA. It's got to be direct. We just talked about state tax deductions. Here's 3 interesting tidbits. First, there are over 30 states that allow for state tax deductions from your 529 plan contributions. Second, 9 of those states allow you to still get the state tax deduction even if you contribute to a 529 plan of a different state. Those are called parity states. Third, 8 of the states will allow you to contribute up to April of the following year to still be able to take that deduction in the current year. Here are 2 interesting planning hacks in the state of Ohio for 529 plans. Now, these can be available in other states, but please check with your tax advisor. The first is, let's say your child has run through all of their assets in their 529 plan, but you really like getting those deductions and there's still more money that needs to be paid in tuition, certifications, or trade schools. You can contribute to a 529 plan in Ohio, get the tax deduction, and immediately pull that money back out and be able to pay for that service, that tuition, that certification. The second is, in Ohio, you are capped at $4,000 per deduction per beneficiary. So assuming you have an only child, but you want more deductions, you could open up an account for yourself as the parent and your spouse and get a total of $12,000 in state tax deductions. Again, these are things you could probably do in other states as well, but please check with your tax advisor. This is Brian Jarris from Vil Wealth Management. Thanks for listening to today's video. If you want to get a hold of us and have more questions, please reach out to us at vilwealth.com. Thank you and have a great week.